Hey everyone, welcome to AMAC's Legends and Leapers program. This monthly conversation between an industry legend and an emerging leader showcases the commonalities and differences in their perspectives on the industry. AMAC is fortunate to have in the membership many distinguished industry leaders, as well as individuals who are already making a significant mark in this industry. And as leaders in advancing diversity and inclusion in the aviation industry, conversations like this are critical in gaining firsthand knowledge of the successes and challenges that our panelists have faced. And as we promote our next generation of aviation leaders and our current generation of aviation leaders as well. Our first installment of Legends and Leapers featured a conversation with aviation legend Rosemarie Andolino, president of Andolino Global Advisors, and aviation leaper Cedric Johnson, president and co-founder of Airport Design Consultants. It was great to hear their backstory and learn how they made it through the industry and hear of some of the influences that they have received from mentors currently in the industry as well. And now today, backed by popular demand, today's conversation will be moderated by AMAC Board Chairman, Mr. Ricky Smith, and AMAC Emerging Leaders Chair, Ms. Lauryn Mangum. Ricky currently serves as the CEO of the Baltimore Washington International Thurgood Marshall Airport, and Lauryn Mangum serves as a Director of Innovation and Business Development at Stellar Partners. At this time, I'd like to turn the program over to our moderators. Again, thank you for joining us. Ricky and Lauryn?
Well, so before Lauryn takes over with the interviews, first I want to welcome everyone to this second edition of Legends and Leapers. We have two amazing speakers again this time, and again, Lauryn will introduce them. But I will say, you may have heard some of the back and forth during the pre-meeting. We did have a pre-meeting a few days ago, which was also lively. And we became pretty close to each other. As a matter of fact, we learned today that you may not know that we're glad to have Kelli joining us for this session. Kelli joins us with no shoes on, and Derryl has agreed to keep his on. So we thought we'd let you know that little piece of information because it wouldn't be obvious to you. But do you want to shed more information on our guest, Lauryn?
Yes, I am. So thank you all so much for joining us. I'm going to start off, last time I was a little torn. So we were talking age before beauty. This time it makes it a little bit easier. So we're going to start off with Mr. Daryl Benton. He is actually an executive vice president of business development at HMSHost, a global restaurateur and world leader in developing innovative dining solutions and travel venues. HMSHost operates in more than 120 airports around the globe and at more than 80 travel plazas in North America. And Derryl is responsible for overseeing the winning and extending of industry contracts. We'll get into a little bit later. I've been calling him Bishop Benton, and soon I'm sure everyone will see why. And he's gonna say that's his brother, but I jokingly said, Jesus was calling him too, but he didn't pick up the main line that day. But this next individual, her name is Kelli. I asked her if she was familiar with Tony Tone, because her name sounds like she needs to be an R&B group. But this dynamic woman is the director of business development and strategy for aviation and transit at Kiewit Infrastructure Engineers. Her primary function is to develop client, community, and industry engagement strategies to drive and support the pursuit and delivery of key infrastructure projects. Kelli has over 15 years of industry experience serving in a variety of leadership roles, including proposal management, community outreach, and diversity and inclusion. So thank you all so much for joining us today. Ricky, did you want to start us off with some great questions?
Yes, let me try to start off with a softball question. And as I look at Kelli, who's nervous because she thinks I'm going to come to her first. So, during one of the pre-sessions, it was brought to our attention that one of our guests doesn't necessarily feel that he or she is a member of the aviation industry. So, as an outsider looking in, Kelli, shed some insight as to what you think would be some of the challenges succeeding in this industry, right? And then Derryl, because you're going to come up next, someone who's been in this industry and who's not embarrassed to be in this industry and is willing to tell people you're in this industry. Share with us some of the challenges you had to overcome to accomplish all that you've accomplished in this industry.
So first and foremost, let me clarify something. I did not say I was not in the aviation industry. What I said was I struggled to regard myself as an aviation professional. I feel like I'm a professional that operates in aviation amongst other areas. And so we kind of went through, yesterday I was transit, tomorrow I might be highway. Today with my AMAC family and for the longest time I have been aviation. So to that extent, I want to provide that clarification. As far as challenges faced, I think it really depends on what aspect of aviation, within which aspect you're operating, right? So there's a set of challenges I think that come with being on Daryl's side of the fence, right? As well as the challenges that come on my side, which is more of the AEC side. So I'll speak to that, and I'll speak to it on behalf of the many friends and colleagues that I have that run businesses in this realm, the small business. And although I don't work for a small business, I empathize with small business because it's near and dear to my heart. But I do think there are challenges that come with navigating the aviation landscape and understanding the uniqueness of the operating environment. And I think there's a great deal of challenge that comes with identifying opportunities and building relationships and kind of getting, through the endless cycle of not enough experience, but need the experience, but can't get the experience. So I think the biggest challenge in operating in aviation is just gaining entry and gaining access to opportunity.
As Daryl prepares to chime in, those of you that were on the membership call may recall me threatening to fire Lauryn because she doesn't cooperate. Her lack of appearance on the screen is not because she's been fired. Just want to let you know that. Daryl?
Yes, first of all, Chair Ricky Smith and Lauryn, thank you so much for moderating this, and Anthony Barnes for your leadership. AMAC has been a part of my career since I joined aviation February 1994. And I would say my biggest challenge has been fear, if you can believe it or not, that coming into aviation as a former banker, I knew nothing about it. My mentor and late airport director, Bill Jennings, recruited me into the airport business. I was the DBELO at Orlando Airport, and I had no idea what 49 CFR Parts 23 and 26 were. So I had to overcome my fear. I met people like Corliss Stone Little and Dale Mason and Brady Keys, Ricky Smith, John Clark, and along the way, individuals like them and many others that I'll talk about, kept encouraging me that you can do this. So I would say the biggest challenge, and it continues to be the challenge, is fear.
So since you bring up challenge, Daryl, and fear, so we're all going through this pandemic now, and hopefully we're looking at a light through the tunnel, and that light is there's a vaccine that's going to help us work through this pandemic or out of this pandemic. If you can project yourself a year from now, okay, project yourself a year from now, and then look back. And when you look back, what will you remember being the biggest benefit to you during this period?
Thank you. I share with my colleagues at Host that one thing that COVID has affirmed with me is I'm going to now work till I'm 91. I've moved my retirement up a couple of years because I will look back and remember that being home is not for me. Now, Jackie, my wife of 37 years, has always reminded me until COVID that being home 24 hours a day was overrated. And now I know. So I'll look back a year from now and I'll realize, one, I have 30 more years to work because I would have survived another year. And I'm going to do that with enthusiasm. So my colleagues at Host, I share with them that that's probably one of the biggest things. Looking back, and boy, time is a great teacher, Ricky, is that we can overcome all things. Relationships matter. And if you can just maintain, the relationships that keep us together to navigate things, I think I'll take in retrospect what I now know is true, and that is relationships.
I think that brings up a really great point. So one of the things that you just talked about is just overcoming things, overcoming those obstacles. And I feel like in our industry, there's always going to be some type of obstacle, regardless of what your background is. But one thing that I want to know from you guys is, what are some, besides outside of COVID, what are some of the biggest obstacles that you've had to overcome within your career in the aviation industry?
Ms. Kelli, I yield.
Of course you do. I think personally, the biggest obstacle that I faced initially, I think became the greatest point of empowerment as I'm embarking upon the next phase of my career. So I'll start off by saying the biggest obstacle kind of ties into what Daryl said before. And it was that fear, and it was fear of being different, and fear of being the only, and fear of being devalued because of difference, and feeling a need to suppress my difference, to what's the word? To just blend in, right? And to not represent that difference as a thing of value. And as I've evolved as a person, as a human, as a woman, and as a professional, I've learned that very difference is indeed the value that I bring. So that biggest challenge, I think, was not necessarily being different. It was the fear that accompanied that difference, and navigating the process of learning how to leverage that difference. So it took some growing. It took a few bumps to get there, but I would say that it was the transition between fear and empowerment in being different.
What is, so you use the word, you say you use the term different.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, you know, I always jokingly say AMAC feels like family. My first AMAC conference was like the picnic at in Poetic Justice when Tupac was like, cousins. So with that being said, we're all family on the line. Can you dig a little bit deeper in regards to what your different is?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I will tell you, AMAC has been a long-standing part of my career as well. So I don't even remember how many years I've been a part of AMAC. So indeed, this is AMAC family, and one of the few places that I don't feel different, you know, funny enough. But quite frankly, coming up in the AEC environments with phenomenal firms, I should say, but all majority firms, I'm often the only woman at the table. And I could probably venture to say usually the only African-American or Black person at the table. So you pair those two together and you've indeed got a unicorn, right? So here I'm a Black female. So am I speaking too harshly? Is my face too expressive? Is what I'm wearing or doing a distraction? Because, you know, there's a dialogue about that difference, but it really comes with, it's a race gender thing, being a Black female in this environment.
Well, Derryl, I'm sure you don't have the challenges of a Black female. What would be yours?
Okay, I caught myself.
You're not supposed to do that on Legends and Leapers.
You almost got me on that one, because I started to come back at you, but I caught myself. I could hear Dale Mason saying, "Don't say it," and Corliss saying, "I'll defend you if you do." But look, you know, the late Dave Miller, DJ Miller out of Atlanta, and if you all don't remember Dave, look him up. He did disparity studies. And I met Dave early on in my career, DJ Miller, we called him. And Dave said something, Lauryn, and he used a military term, and it stayed with me. He said, the worst thing you can do is put a non-fighter in a fighter's position. And he used that, talking about F-14, F-15 fighters, and said, would the military put a non-fighter in that cockpit? And so yes, those areas of obstacles that Ms. Kelli speak of, they're there. And some who know me know that I'll always refer to a mother and a grandmother, and again, Jackie, my partner for a wife for 37 years. And so when you look at what those women put into my life, it was, yeah, the obstacles were there, Lauryn, and they are there. I think that's where the internal fear came from, because if you know me, you wouldn't think that I'm a person who carry fear. Those who've gotten to know me better, Steve Johnson, Jody DiMenzio, Mario, Steve, Bill Jennings, these people that I count as leaders who've advanced my career, all three of them will tell you that they've encouraged me, Ms. Kelli, not to walk into that C-suite with fear. But I think they will tell you that they all counseled me, don't be afraid. So it's interesting, Lauryn, that obstacle was always there. But I think the early instillment of a mother and a grandmother and the encouragement of a partner, I walked in the room, and you know me, I come ready to play. So I'll check those fears at the door. I'll know the obstacles are there, but when it's game on, it's game on.
So let me try this, a slight shift. And this is a bifurcated question, okay? It's the same question, but
Ooh, Ricky with the big words, okay.
But don't play with me, Lauryn. Don't play with me.
Carry on.
Don't play with me. You're still on probation, right? So Kelli, it's just a slightly different twist for you and Derryl. So AMAC is going through this transition. Legends and Leapers kind of reflects the transition what we're going through. Where we obviously have a seasoned, experienced population within the organization that has served the organization well and continues to serve the organization well. At the same time, as Lauryn represents with the emerging leaders, we have this younger group of professionals that are emerging, and business leaders that are emerging, trying to find their way and their influence over the organization. So for you, Kelli, why is it so important that we honor our legends? And for you, Derryl, why is it so important that we lift up our leapers? What's the value in that? And talk about what that means for you. Why don't we go with Kelli first?
Yeah, I'm glad to take that. And I'll say the first word that comes to mind is legacy, right? So with leaderships, with those legends comes a legacy. There's wisdom, there's knowledge, there's mentorship, and just tremendous value that's offered in the experiences that our legends carry and bring to the table. And if we don't know, just as there's a lot to be gained, and of course I'll defer to Derryl in his commentary on what the Leapers do, but if we don't understand the opportunity that we have to pull up a seat and hear those stories and learn from the trials and tribulations of the people that brought forth this legacy, then we're truly missing the opportunity to move forward.
Oh, wow. The Leapers, and I would definitely say that the good book says, I call the older person because they're wise. I hope I've accumulated some wisdom, and the younger because they're stronger, even though I challenge the millennials every day not to take me on, because I'll use the wisdom to overcome their strengths. But yeah, looking at Miss Kelli and the younger leapers that I get to work with every day, it's important that as I look back now, my 26 years, can the legend learn from the leapers? Yes. The legend also has to find the right time to know when the leapers are ready to learn. Those of us, we've all gone through some level of academic training, and you have to come to class with a mindset to learn. And therefore, sometimes you have to wait for the leaper to be ready to receive from a quote unquote a legend, but yeah, it's a great place, Ricky, to be when you know you can, as those before me, I was able to listen to Leon Watkins and Bill Jennings and Brady Keys and Herman Russell, Falco Ward, Jesse Hill, DJ Miller. You got to be able to listen to those people. So the Leapers, my goodness, you're incredible and you're valued and you're needed.
And I think that one of the two keys that both of you guys said is just being in a position where, whether it's legend to leaper or leaper to legend, being a sponge, you know, being in a position to want to learn, want to know more, want to almost diversify as far as your thought process and everything. So that is big. And I think that I'm excited that we're doing this and going forward, just the opportunities that are going to be able to stem from this, to see that there's this conversation. Because, you know, sometimes as a leaper coming in, you don't know everyone, you're not quite sure who to talk to, et cetera. And then you're like, you know, you hear Bishop Benton talk and you're like, oh, wow, like I need to talk to him. Or, oh, Ricky Smith, I need to talk to him, et cetera. But to hear legends say, you know, we want to be able to bestow this wisdom and knowledge that, you know, Mr. Watkins was able to, and everyone that you mentioned previously, truly is a blessing to be able to not just open up the door, but have that hand out and that hand back to bring us along as well. So that's definitely appreciated.
And Ricky, one thing I'd like to just add to you and Lauryn, Bill Jennings, again, I'll refer to him quite often. We would sit down some days and we would count the African-American and women who were CEOs in airports. And, you know, he would talk about Al Denson, and John Clark was running Jacksonville, and Ricky, and we would count. I think at one time there were 12 African-American CEOs alone, not counting women in aviation that have really had some great growth in the last 15 years. But that was really fun. And I would sit down at 35, 40 years old, and Bill would just go over how AMAC got started, and Esterline Lewis, and these people who literally couldn't go to the other conferences because they weren't welcome, and AMAC was started. But that little round robin of counting the African-American CEOs who were running airports, it was an aspiration. I said, until I met the other side of Hudson and Host, there was a clear path that I could run an airport one day. And because these leaders like Ricky were out there, growing their careers, and Steve Bakers of the world. So the legend and leaper connection are critical.
So we're going through this period of social reckoning. The issue of social injustice hasn't been as top of mind since probably the 60s. And all of us are feeling it now. All of us are experiencing it's playing out right before us. So I guess my question for you is, has systemic racism been a hindrance for you or an opportunity? Is it a hindrance to you or is it an opportunity? I'm going to ask both of you to respond to that from your perspective. Remember, Derryl, you're old, so you're coming from a historical perspective. Kelli, you're younger, and so you're coming from that perspective.
Calling me old is unacceptable, but I am mature. But I'll take it. Go ahead, Miss Kelli. With your young self, go ahead.
And because I respect my elders, I will go first, although I was hoping you would take that.
I'm old too, Derryl, just in case.
I'm going to say that because we're talking about a systemic issue, I would be short-sighted to not recognize the hindrance that it's presented for myself, as well as many of my colleagues, my friends, my associates, my fellow African Americans, minorities, women, right? Because it's a platform that's been put in place to instill a sense of oppression, right? So by all means, there are there's always kind of that thought of where would I be? Where could I be? What barriers are in place that are known to me or unknown? So I'll say walking into a system that was built to oppress, if you will, or that is structured with a degree of oppression in itself presents a barrier, right? It presents a hindrance. But I will also say that given the recent elevated dialogue, and I'm not by any means suggesting that it's occurring more now, because we know this is not new. It's newly known to some, right? So many of us knew, we've known this. This is a story. These stories aren't new to us. These are our friends. These are our family members. These are our community members that have been impacted to different degrees by systemic racism and oppression. So it's a story that's long been told, but with that long telling of that story that I'm hoping Derryl will jump in on, with that long telling comes a degree of resilience, right? And we've been prepared, and we've been.
That's not me muting her. That's not me. I don't treat women that way. That's not me.
Can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Okay, unstable. I'm getting an unstable connection here. So I don't know where I left off, but what I'll say is, I'm sorry?
You were saying that we have been prepared.
Okay, so there has been a degree of preparation just by our parents, by our culture, that raises our level of awareness and the level of expectation around how we show up. We show up differently in response to that. We don't go down because we're pushed down. We elevate because we have to force our way through some of those barriers. And so that's where I would say, again, I can't remember the word you used, Ricky. You didn't use the word benefit. What was the word you used? Whether it was an impediment or.
Kelli, I just asked the questions. I don't remember.
and I just start talking and I don't even remember what the question was. Honestly, now I'm just preaching because I'm trying to lead in for the bishop over there. But at the end of the day, I would acknowledge it as an impediment, right? Because it's a structural concept. It's something that's in place that we're all aware of. But I would say that as a people, that we are prepared, that we are resilient, and it's forced us to find a level of strength that might be different than some of our other colleagues that don't face those same sort of barriers. So to that extent, I would say there's benefit because we're pushed harder and we show up stronger.
Wow.
Wow.
I watched this question being asked of many on the national level, Mr. Smith and Ms. Mangum, and I think often, and here I am as an executive vice president of the largest food and beverage company in North America. And I'm 60 years old and I was raised in Florida, which they say is probably not the deep South, but we're right over the border. And yes, I experienced all of the issues that I hear. And then I think that I'm the father of 3, 30-year-old plus almost with our daughter. And I think often, what message do I convey to them and others, the leapers? So are there race issues? Yes. Am I a benefactor of affirmative action and those who fought and died for a baby born in 1960? Yes. Did I walk in the room, and do I walk in the room knowing that history? Yes. I'm as focused now on what do I tell my children who are, they're educated. My wife and I send them to school. They're children and young adults who are less fortunate. We're underemployed, all the things that are real. But I have to find, Lauryn and Ricky, a way to say yes, gender, race, orientation, religion, all those issues that one can discriminate against one because of, I still want to encourage that you must find your way to compete in a free enterprise society. So there are other economies that are real around the world. Our economy, you have to understand all those issues where someone could discriminate against you because of, and in spite of, come up with your plan to succeed. So yes, it exists. Yes, it's real. And yes, grandmama was right. Yes, I've worked twice as hard, sometimes 3 times as hard, but she also told me to walk in the room and she said, you a man and you're gonna be up against other men and women and bring your A game. So yes. Did an old man bring it, Miss Kelli? Kelli?
You did thing.
He did all right. He did all right. So unless Lauren's going to jump in, I'll ask another one. Are you?
Well, I was going to jump in.
Go for it, Lauren. Go for it.
So it's funny that what you both said was very profound in a different take, because I think a lot of times we hear just the negative side of things, but to hear both of you as a legend and a leaper, to be able to find the, and I'm going to use the term grit, you know, find the tenacity, find the persistence that a lot of times we just naturally have to face and have growing up, that has always been the case, and find the positives within it that has built the character to get you both to where you are. I'm not sure if you guys seen a video, and Charmaine, you're going to kill me because I'm referencing something and I didn't send you a link, but when everyone gets the opportunity, there's a video, I believe it's on YouTube, and it's a school coach, and he has all of these kids lined up at the starting line. And he basically tells everyone, you know, if you have both of your parents at home, take a step forward. And he presents all of these opportunities to them and tells them, as if they answered yes, take a step forward. And when they turn around and look back, it was the athletes and kids of color, some females, and also maybe people that were in a lower class as far as economically. And what was so interesting is when they said, okay, this is where you start the race from, it was still all of those kids in the back that still made it to the finish line first. And it's so profound, and it gives me chills just about it, because that's literally what you guys have just said, right? Systemic racism is real. Sexism is real. You know, any type of discrimination against orientation, but for whatever reason, that grit and that tenacity and that consistency and persistence, it makes us stronger, it makes us faster, it makes us better, so that we can walk into that room, like Bishop Benton's mother and grandmother said, with our head held high and fearless, because we've overcome so many different obstacles and we're still here at the table. So that was just absolutely profound. I had to say that, Ricky. So if you have not seen that video, I do urge you to look it up for sure. But Mr. Smith, please go ahead with your next question.
Yeah. If I'm called Mr. Smith one more time. Anyway, so a slightly different twist again. So both you, Derryl, you reminded me of Rudy Giuliani. Don't wipe your face with a napkin.
Watch my dad come down.
Anyway, so both of you are professionals, leaders in very large organizations, very large corporate organizations. And when we, African Americans, find ourselves in these positions, others who are outside the organization looking for opportunities, employment opportunities or business opportunities from us or from the organization, don't always understand how difficult it is for you to follow your passion and to make those opportunities available on the inside, right? Despite your passion, despite where your heart is. Can you both speak to that, again, as leaders in very large bureaucratic organizations? Can you shed some light on that?
Sir.
Thank you for yielding to your elder. Thank you. Thank you.
I will remind the audience, Lauryn and I have not shared any of our questions with them, right? So it's catching them cold. And we know we've hit a sweet spot when they start looking up in the air, thinking about their answer, right? So
it was actually the goal. So we mission accomplished.
I'm gonna take my glasses off on this one because I don't want to look at anybody. Yes, navigating in corporate America, and I do. This is again an area where others may not understand, and that's okay. That's on them. Of how you want to create the opportunity for someone and others within the organization who look like you maybe, and you have to do that in a strategic way that recognize all the talent around you, Ricky, and yes, I would imagine that other groups are okay with that. I've become comfortable being okay with that, because if someone had not done that in terms of deliberately for me, I know I would not be here. And I try to recognize the banker who did that for me, Bill Jennings who did that for me, Mario and Jody DiMizio who did that for me, and Steve Johnson. So, and I've told all those individuals along the way, thank you for doing that for Daryl Benton. So yes, it takes, of course, I have more time now, Miss Kelli, that again, being comfortable in my skin, being comfortable in my agenda and my purpose. And that's what I would love to share with those coming behind me, that you've got to do it sooner, as I've done it over these 30 years. It took courage and overcoming fear and being able to go in and say, look, this is important to me, that I'm here and I do want to pave the way for others. But it does take navigation. It takes courage sometimes, because you don't want to go in the room and again, put gender or race on the table. But I remind people that all three of my children, our children, look like me. So in terms of their ethnic background, they look like their mama, thank God. But they are pigeon-toed and got pretty teeth. So I told Jackie, they got my D's and my teeth. But you got to be okay with saying, this is important, and part of my legacy is to be okay with saying diversity and inclusion means more to me than just the academic term, but it means that's who I am. I am diverse, and others included me. Now, Ms. Kelli, you're the expert in this field. Break it down in some scientific format for me.
So statistics say, no, I'm just kidding, I won't go there. I'm just playing. I know y'all gonna get nervous if I started off like that. You know, I think mute. No, I think, you know, Derryl, you addressed that from an internal standpoint, and I think there's an internal and an external dialogue. So from an internal standpoint, it's that conversation with my colleagues, and it's that level setting that says equitable opportunities, meaningful participation for diverse firms. It's not about handouts, and it's not about giving anyone anything. So let's let the record show that no one's looking for a handout here. And I'm not looking to bring a firm that's not qualified to the table. I'm not looking, just because it's disadvantaged business enterprise doesn't mean that they are intellectually disadvantaged. That means that there have been some disparities in place that have created a category to afford them an opportunity for entry. So that disadvantage is limited just to perhaps their demographic categorization, but not to their capabilities. So setting the record straight and setting a level of expectation around respect, right? And what should be seen as equitable consideration. If you're going to consider this firm, why can't you consider this firm? So I think that's the first thing. So it's addressing that bias, and it's addressing that mindset that there's going to be a problem. There's going to be some substandard level of service. They're not ready. They need help. Not the case. From the other side, it's making sure that my friends, my colleagues, my peers that are within those categories and seeking those opportunities and seeking that connectivity do show up ready to roll, right? So if there are areas where they can be sharpened in their business practices, in their marketing, and how they show up and how I connect them, I want to make sure that they present the best possible scenario, the best picture of who they are. And not saying they don't come that way, that diverse firms don't come that way, but making sure that there is, it only takes a gap. It only takes some small variance or something to introduce that doubt or to validate that bias, right? That substandard bias that we tend to lean on, or that some tend to lean on. And so my job as someone who sits in this seat, just like I said, just like my mom said, you better show up this way, and this way. You better be faster, smarter, stronger, and get up 2 hours early, or whatever that is. That's the expectation that I set. And I look to have authentic, candid conversations with my colleagues and my peers that are coming in seeking opportunities to engage. Listen, you sent me an email inquiring about an opportunity, and you said this, and this, but you didn't mention anything. Example, if I had a nickel for every email that said, hey, we can help you meet your goal. We're certified firms here. What scope do you perform? Who else have you worked with? What are your qualifications? What are the key discriminators that make your firm competitive and viable in this place? Tell that story so that I can advocate on your behalf on your strengths, not just on a categorization. So the honest conversation that I have to have externally is show up in a way that I can advocate and promote. And on the inside, it's be receptive and be open. And I have to have a level of accountability and understand that I have that responsibility on both sides.
So before and Ricky and Lauryn, one thing, because you made comment now, if you're not willing to learn from the former mayor of New York and the fact that Lauryn was going to call you a bishop, and you don't bring not handkerchiefs, you got to bring a towel to the meeting. So all of you all out there who want to learn from a legend, when you're dripping your dye, don't bring a handkerchief now, because that's going to be too messed up. But you got to bring a towel or a rag if you get back to the old Pentecostal way. Just for the record.
Just be careful what side you use. That's all. Lauryn, before you jump in, Ricky,
how do you always assume that I was ready to jump in? I was ready to jump in.
Because you're always ready to jump in. That's who you are. That's what you do. But I'm going to take off my moderator cap for a second. So when people in positions like Kelli and Derryl and Lauryn, where they're able to do their best to make decisions to help women and minorities get access to opportunities, employment or business, sometimes we find ourselves walking so close to that line to get it done that it makes people nervous. And there are people out there that don't want us to walk to that line, right? So here's the point. So whenever they come after us, y'all can't be punks, right? Y'all can't scatter. Y'all can't disappear. We can't get the faint text message, are you doing all right? No, we need you to fight for us, to protect us the same way you want us to fight for you on the inside. And if that doesn't happen, then you're not going to have many people that look like us on the inside putting themselves at risk to make life well for you. So that's just the point I wanted to make real quick, Lauryn. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was awesome. So I know that we have to get to Q&A, but I do have one quick question because I want to kind of spin this a little bit. One of the things that we've talked about quite a bit is legacy, and everyone's mentioned the term. And so I have just one last question before we get into Q&A. What is your legacy? And this could be personal, professional, but what is your legacy? Or what do you want it to be?
Is there a bird in the room over there, Bishop?
There's not a lot of legacy there.
Go ahead, Miss Kelli.
Oh, that's a good one. I would say goodness, I wish I just had something ready, because you're right. That is a word that I use, and it's a word that it's a word of esteem, right? And so I would say that if I were looking forward as what I would like to say I left behind, I would like my legacy to be that I left things, people, businesses, organizations, specifically AMAC, better than I found them, right? And whether that be through my thought process or the ability to collaborate, whether it be through mentorship. You know, I'm kind of in this middle place, right? So I'm at a place where I can probably do a little mentoring, but still need a whole lot of mentoring. But if I'm a bridge, you know, to opportunity and to that connection, then I think I will have achieved a status. At the end of the day, and I know this is a bit of a simplified answer, a little bit of a cheat, if as a result of my efforts, my thinking, my teamwork, my collaboration, my advocacy, I have left something better, then I will feel that I've achieved the legacy that I'm seeking to leave.
Thank you. And again, thank you all. 1994 was my first AMAC conference, Chairman Smith. So the legacy is that I have not missed an AMAC conference, the bridge that brought me over. And therefore, until this year when the AMAC, we did not hold the conference due to COVID, the legacy is I was true to the bridge that brought me here. Whether it's AMAC, whether it's ACI, Diversity Subcommittee, I have never said no to my beginnings as the DBELO to Orlando. George Morning, who's there today, and all those who succeeded after me in Orlando, keep doing the advocacy work. The companies that I've had the privilege to work in, I think I've never left my beginnings. So the legacy is, as they do say, in your place of faith, well done. I would like for Leon Watkins, Bill Jennings, the names I've called, Johnny Cochran, these people, DJ Miller, to look back and say, you know, Benton, we put you in the cockpit. We saw you as a fighter, and you fought the good fight. And as I've shared with my friends at Host, and I'm going to try to fight it for at least 30 years and a half till I get to 90. And that's my goal. So my legacy is yet to be completed. I'm having a lot of fun, and I do dye my hair with a tint of gray, and I'm glad that dye did not come down. But I'll go back to brown tomorrow and get it back to where it was before I want to look like a legend to all of you today, and I put that little tint of gray in it. I hope it's representing.
All right, okay. Well, Lauryn has lost it, as you can tell. So I think this is the part of the program where we turn it over to Anthony Barnes, and Anthony Barnes will moderate questions from the audience. Unmute.
Mute.
There you go.
All right, just had to unmute myself. Thank you, Daryl and Kelli, for your insightful wisdom, and Ricky and Lauryn for leading us through this conversation. We do have a couple of questions that have come in, and I will go ahead and try to pull them up. See, we have one question that come in from Edward, asked, at what point did you let go of the fears so you could focus on the task at hand? What was the pivot point from fear?
Ms. Kelli?
I had a profound moment in a meeting where a question came up. This is when I was out at the Denver airport on that great hotel and transit center project. If you haven't been, well, I mean, don't come now, COVID, but when you get a chance, come see that Westin. It's fabulous. But I got to be a part of that delivery team. And that was when I really became really immersed into this world of aviation and into this work that I've been so privileged to do. And I remember sitting in a meeting and a question came up and I didn't know the answer, but I opened my mouth and out came, this degree of wisdom and expertise that I didn't know I had, right? And I don't know if it was a confidence thing. I don't know if it was, that typical imposter, like, do I know? I don't know. Should I be here? But for some reason, I was able in that moment, because it was necessary to open my mouth and speak up and speak out. For some reason, I shed at that moment fear and was empowered in the fact that there's a level of gut. There's a lot of preparation, there's a lot of study, there's all kinds of academic things you can do to prepare, but a lot of the work that we do comes from the heart, right? It comes from the gut. It's what's right, and the head's in there too. But recognizing that I had the ability to move on instinct, and that I had reached a level of preparation was what it took for me to step outside of fear. And so I wish I could tell you exactly when that happened or what the impetus was for that release, but it just, again, the question came and all eyes were on me and I opened my mouth and there was my moment of truth and I've not looked back.
Thank you, Anthony. If you all know Mark Muriel, the president of the Urban League, and my good friend Winston Burns, we all call him WB. WB calls me 5 times a day. I said, WB, Jackie don't call me 5 times a day. Would you just, but fear, last year, 59 years old, it was Steve Johnson. Who said, Derryl, you've been the executive vice president for 5 years. So Anthony, and the person asked the question again, I want to be as real as I can. I'm afraid every day. And all the things we've talked about, AMAC members, those who are listening, it is walking in the history. It is carrying the torch of the history. It is realizing that I could be stopped any day. And if I don't handle myself right, I answer the phone. I have 2 sons. I'm afraid when I answer the phone, what's on the other end of the phone. I come to work, yes, every day. I work with a dynamic team of colleagues, and I have to consider during this pandemic, can we get through this next year and keep my colleagues' jobs intact? I relish the burden and the responsibility, but I overcame some fear last year when Steve and I were talking, and I look at him sometime when he's even coaching me today, and I say, I hear what you're saying, but I still got to navigate this the best way I can. So last year, maybe I overcame a little bit more fear, but as of right now, I'm still afraid of what I don't see coming around the corner. And I just prepare myself each minute almost for overcoming fear.
Thanks, Derryl. I think that's a common feeling among a lot of people right now, especially these days and times. We do have another question that came in from Kareem. It says, do you believe, for the Legends, do you believe that in current times with publicly traded primes and venture capital ownership of primes, that competition has driven down profitability, driven out smaller minority and or ACDBE primes, and has created a bidding war for airport concessions that increases risk and decreases profitability for ACDBE subtenants and JV partners?
For the sake of this discussion, there's only one legend on the screen, right? It's not.
Yeah. So Derryl, do you believe that in the current times, public traded companies have this effect?
First of all, I wish I could kick this ball over to the other legend on the call, Mr. Smith, who said, don't call him Mr. Smith. But yeah, I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned how we all navigate through this period. I always share with small businesses, and I get to still coach and counsel, that a dollar is a dollar. You could be a $3 billion company or a $1 company. The P&L is still, we start with $1. And again, I share with folks real quick, Mr. Barnes, that again, it could be $1 billion or $1. You're going to buy the product, and on average, the product is 30 cents on the dollar. So we start the day at 70 cents. If you're operating a brand, you're going to pay that brand anywhere from 3 to 5 points. Now some are as high as 8 points just to operate that brand. Add that on top of the 30 cents, you're at 38 cents. So that's above the line before you get below the line, which is occupancy rent, then there's cost of labor. So our challenge is, how do we reset, if you're a concessionaire, that something's got to give. I still got to buy the ketchup and the bread. I still may operate a proprietary brand versus a national brand to save on royalty, but I still got to pay rent. I still got to hire labor, and I still got to build out a store at about $800 a foot. That concerns me for public traded and small business. We have a journey ahead of us, and how we navigate is going to be critical to see who gets on the other side of this.
Thank you, Daryl. I think we have time for about 2 more questions. This question came in a little earlier from David. It says, Kelli hit on something. As I am looking to expand my M.MBE certification, I was hoping to add ACDBE, but was told that I couldn't apply unless I had an existing agreement with an airport supplier or concessionaire. We are a 25-year-old minority-owned staffing company and have received many accolades. Why does an established business have to have an existing airport relationship to apply for the ACDBE?
So while Kelli thinks that one through, I'm going to ask that we also consider taking that question offline. That's a very technical question that I think deserves a more technical response. So please, whoever is the author of that question, please follow up with Anthony so that we can get you the answer to that question, because it deserves a technical response.
Wow, good.
Thank you, Ricky. Okay, we have time for 2 more quick questions. One came in that asked, who were your most profound mentors and who are you mentoring?
Ms. Kelli?
So I thought that might come up. And so the most profound mentors, I have 3 as it pertains to this space and probably in my career in general. And it's a person that gave me the opportunity to enter aviation as an opportunity for career advancement. So I'd been working for Parsons. I was in the transportation group and kind of unspecialized. And Ginger Evans saw something that compelled her to give a girl a chance. So Ginger said, you know what? Here's an opportunity. I see potential here. And those might not be the exact words she used, because, you know, Ginger's quite eloquent. But so Ginger Evans, I think, was the first. And it just so happens that the project that presented that opportunity was that hotel project that I mentioned, the Den project. And I worked for a very tough, very charismatic program manager by the name of Dwight Pullen, who has become a longtime family friend now and mentor, who I think was the first person to ever look me in the eye and let me know something wasn't good enough. And as someone who's been, you know, always kind of quick and witty and a little bit nimble and kind of pull a fast one, I tried to pull a fast one day and Dwight said, not up in here. And so, and it wasn't necessarily substandard, it just didn't meet his expectations. And he was quick to let me know. And that put me on my toes and forced me to elevate my game to a new level. And I think the third one, I'm sorry, they said who, they didn't say one, right? So I'm still talking. But the third is actually Kim Day, who is the director of aviation out at Den. And it's just, I had the opportunity to watch her in so many forums just present, I mean, her strength, her resilience, her lack of compromise. Like, she is uncompromising in what she seeks and what she perceives as excellence. And she's not afraid to be a strong, outspoken woman who does not take no for an answer, you know. So just learning from her strength as a woman in leadership in aviation was tremendously beneficial for me as I started my career.
Thank you. Daryl, real quick.
And just real quick, and Winston and Kurt Mangum, I knew to bring a darker towel, but that wasn't the point. So stop sending me text messages that I embarrass people by bringing this Orlando Airport white towel. Okay, so OIA, I'm still advertising for you. But yeah, all my mentors, I've called all their names. My mentors today, the running list, are all the landlords out there. Remember, Lord is in landlord, ants and tenant. I need bag relief. You get to add on to my mentor. You will go on my list as you continue to grant us relief as we get through this. And Ricky, you set the tone back in March. You were the first airport to grant full mag abatement through December 31st, and that was back in April. So you're on my top list, and I have a running list of all of my other airport leaders who are my heroes. And I will talk about you at my next invite when I'm at my 10th anniversary, getting close to 70. I'll call your name.
Well, I've been on a number of lists. It's good to be on a good list for a change. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that.
All right, we are just a little after and want to thank you again for joining us. Thank you for our speakers. Thank you, Daryl and Kelly, once again for joining us. Thank you, Ricky and Lauryn, for leading us through the conversation. Just a reminder of the next Legends and Leapers program will be held on Wednesday, December 16th, where we have Kevin Doliole for Director of Aviation at the Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport joining us, along with Cynthia Goodry, Director of Long Beach Airport as well. Please register for that at www.amac-org.com. We wish you a very safe and happy Thanksgiving holiday. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Be safe, please.
Is this when the outro music comes up?
Yes.
Okay.
Now this is where this is where Shamana cut us off last time, and we couldn't finish talking offline.
Well, we are allowing our attendees
Cut us off.
in the room right now, but no, we have not cut you off. We're just allowing our attendees to exit the room. Thank you.
Because this is what Ricky and I practice for our daytime television.
Yes, exactly.
Do you need me to stay on?
If you'd like to practice for our daytime television, sure.
Yeah, okay. Just I'll just say this. Remember, this is a live microphone.
Microphone still live.
I'm going to take a hard pass on the daytime TV, but I definitely enjoyed the both of you.
No, you were absolutely amazing.
I think Derryl called it right. She played rope-a-dope.
When she hit you with the finger in the
I
head,
know.
I was like,
How you gonna put me out there in front of my family like that?
Where did Derryl go? So Derryl took it seriously when he said it was over.
He did.
Okay, he rolled. All right, well, I guess it is over. But yeah, Kelly, you were great. You really were.
Thank you. It was.
the finger came up. I said, "Oh no, she gonna be good."
You know what? You can't fight instinct, and it just happened.
Exactly. Yeah.
You are the fighter plane that Daryl was talking about. We put you.
Apparently, no matter how. Look, as they say, don't let these pearls fool you.
Okay. I'll clutch them and cuss you out at the same time.
Right.
Well,
I'll just say I'll let you all get ready for your daytime rehearsal here, but I just want to thank you both for the opportunity. It was fun. You know, it was a little bit outside of my comfort zone.
well, you'll find us starting, January on the Code Network. It's a new up and coming network. I think it's in like 2 municipalities around the country that you can find us on, and just check us out. It's called the Code Network.
Is that real?
CODE. Well, this is my first time hearing it, so I just want to make sure.
Oh, you thought it was CODE? No, it's COAD, Code Network.
Is this real? I don't know anymore. I just don't know.
The B-roll outtakes that
No,
we're
Lauryn and I have been joking since the beginning about taking our act on the road, right? So
Ricky
we just
said we
we're ready
weren't
for
enough for daytime television, though. He
That's
said
right.
we got to be like the 3 a.m. show. Then
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. I think you could care. Now you can't go against Judge Judy.
No.
But I mean, right before, y'all be all right.
Are you a Judge? Are you a Judge Judy fan?
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
I'm not going to judge you.
Judy.
Well, apparently you do have an audience because some of our audience does not want to leave. They're enjoying your.
The banter.
I wanted to answer Paul Brown's question about what are you doing to stay like physically and mentally fit.
I wanted to, yeah.
I know.
I tried to get to it, but we were going.
I know, because what happened was Kelli, who thought she was gonna be all nervous, it got good to her. She got to be Deaconess Kelli. With her last answer, we didn't have time. We didn't have time for the last.
At first.
So people are still listening. Is that what Shamana said?
There are people still.
Did y'all notice that button missing on Daryl's jacket?
That's not right.
Did y'all notice that? I wanted to tell him, but I couldn't tell him in front of all the people that Daryl, you got a button. That button it was dangling, all right? And as the show progressed, it fell off. You didn't notice that?
Unbuttoned sports coat. That wasn't it?
Oh no, I thought it had a button missing.
Well, if you'd like to
Make sure y'all tell Daryl, Kelli does not know how to take us serious. Kelli, this is all made up crap now, okay? All this stuff is made up.
Lauren, if you wanted to share with Mr. Brown, it looks like he's still on the line. So
Oh, yes. So I actually lost. So going into the pandemic, so I got engaged right before the world shut down. So basically, right after we left Denver for that last conference, I got engaged that weekend. And so one of our goals was to make sure that we basically take this opportunity and time that we have to be fit and to really hone in on our fitness, hone in on our nutrition, because like, let's be serious, we'll never have this type of time that we've had once the world shut down. So he lost about 40 pounds. I lost 30 pounds. It led to my fiance starting his own nutrition company. And then with my weight loss and just enjoying working out, I actually decided that I was going to compete and do a show next year. So being physically fit has definitely helped me being mentally fit throughout this process. Paul, I got you. Send me an email. I got all the tips. The biggest tip is put the food down. That was my biggest thing, because this was my exercise. And so just being mindful of what you eat has been a huge thing, and make sure that we're moving. So yeah. What about you guys?
So I've always maintained a degree of fitness. I mean, I thought they were asking because I thought they saw the gun show over here. I didn't pull out the sleeveless on them. They weren't ready. But I do work out 5 times a week, but that's not a new routine. That's always been the routine. So lots of high intensity cardio, running a couple days. That's kind of why I had the frog in my throat, because I had the nerve to try to run this morning, knowing that, it brings it up, and on a speaking date, not the best plan, but that and a fairly low carb diet, because recognizing that we're very, I don't even have a standing desk here, I'm at home, so that, my mobility during the daytime has diminished. I'm not walking and, office to office to go visit. If it's a contact I got to make, it's the phone, it's the email. So very sedentary right now. So I've got to keep up with the morning routine.
And I keep my Apple Watch on so I can I have my goals. So my standing goal, my calorie goal, my move goal. And my goal is to hit those every single day. So Paul, I would say, get active. If you know that you're going to, you're in Mississippi, so you eating real good. But if you know that you're going to splurge, decide what day that's going to be. Don't make it every day. And then make sure you're having your vegetables, make sure you're having your balanced meals, etc. But make sure you're moving. I think that's the biggest thing, is just moving, because we get so sedentary, especially now, right? Working from home, like you said, Kelli. I know Ricky has abs. So
2 years ago, I was at 215, and my doctor said he wanted me down to 185.
Wow.
In the office one day, I was drinking sweet teas. I used to take sweet teas down 3, 4, 5 a day. And Annette Fisher, who works with me here at BWI, challenged me to stop eating sugar. And I went cold turkey. I stopped drinking the sugary drinks. I don't.
Like this?
I went cold turkey. and the weight just started falling off. And Kelly, I am at a stand-up desk. I'm at a very desk all day. I rarely sit. I'm standing up all day. Often you'll see me doing this because I move around a lot. That has helped. And in a non-COVID environment, I'm walking the terminal all the time. So I get a lot of steps in. And then I try not to eat too late at night. And so it was those, I mean, I'm not as fitness active as the two of you are. I mean, I love being on the treadmill, but I don't get to do it every day. But for me, it was amazingly cutting the sugar. I mean, almost cold turkey. Every now and then on a Wednesday, I'll treat myself to a Chick-fil-A shake. That's about it. The time you eat your last dinner, and just staying moving, right? It doesn't have to be, running, 4 or 5 hours a morning. Just the standing up part does a lot. I mean, it puts weight on your joints, but it does help you as well.
But it helps you lose the weight, so there's less weight on your joints too.
I think the key, and I think both of you would agree to this, the key is finding something that you can do that becomes routine for you.
That habit, yeah.
So
It becomes habit, right? Because if it's something that you have to convince yourself to do every day, those days are going to pile up where you just aren't going to do it.
But what does it say, 21 days to form a habit?
Yeah.
And so once you figure out, I think sometimes it's just mental too. Like, oh, well, I'll do it after the holidays. And then now all of a sudden we just gained 20 more pounds. So now we got 20 pounds plus the 50,
Right.
et cetera. But just deciding, okay, today's going to be the day. And those small goals, and start with small goals. So Paul said, Dr. Pepper. So no more Dr. Pepper. And then every time you want a Dr. Pepper, drink some water.
Now, I have a revelation for you guys. I know we're answering Paul's question. Is Paul still on?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's still on. Okay, he's still on. I said, well, we still got a lot of people on. Even Robin Gibson is still on. Nosy.
Paul said he's still here. He's writing down all the notes.
Okay. All right.
Paul done moved to Mississippi. Paul eating good.
All right. Well, at some point we do have to close this down. And so I think Anthony and Shamana, you guys control this this ship.
If we are ready, then I will close us out. But we thank all of you who hung in there with us for our B-roll segment of the Legends and Leapers conversation. And we hope that you'll join us on the next one. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Guys.
Happy holidays, guys.
Yes.